share my screen here. So again, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit this morning about AP automation, invoice capture. The focus of what we're going to cover today is going on the data capture of invoices coming into your organization, knowing that the other aspect of this is the workflow and approval processes. But for today's sake, for time's sake, we're going to cover the data capture part of it. So a little bit about information management services to give you an idea about what we do. We've been in business for over 30 years. We're a top Kodak and ABBYY integrator in the United States. We work with a lot of customers of all different types in a variety of fields, but accounts payable or AP automation is one of our focuses, as we are really a capture specialist type company. Everything that we do is geared towards how can we make it easier for our customers to capture documents, data from those documents as they come into their organization, and help improve those processes and speed them up. So everything from solutions, we have professional services, system integration teams, we hardware, we sell support on hardware and software, and a variety of other things. The thing is highly customer focused. We really do try to work with our customers and work with them the way that we would do our own business. As I tell the people that work for here, we want to help the customer spend money like it was ours. And we truly do live by that mantra. So that we have a good deal of customers that have been with us for 25, 30 years, just because we've worked with them and we can provide them with the right solutions, and we also provide them do the right things for them, and that's really important to us. So to get the presentation, this is a way that came from PayStream Advisors, but what it's looking at is with financial executives, what are the key pressures? What are the problems that they face? And the number one problem that they get is how can I reduce the cost of processing invoices? Stories that it's anywhere from $5 to $15 per invoice for a company to process it, depending on the amount of manual entry there is and how antiquated their systems might be. So that's a big cost in a company that really goes, in savings to that cost goes right to the bottom line. The problem that they face is that there's not a lot of visibility. Invoices come in, we're not always sure how many we have to pay. We don't know exactly what our outlay is going to be for the next month because we've got them in various stages of process, and we can't really see what we have at any given time. We've decreased the invoice cycle time. We want to get faster at what we're doing so that we can take advantage of any discounts that maybe are being offered. And if I do those things, increase my visibility and then decrease my invoice cycle time, I'm going to improve my cash management, which is really one of the other great issues that a lot of these people are facing. So, kind of the problems that they're facing. So here are kind of number one answer to what they can do to fix these problems is to automate their invoice receipt. How can I get better at getting the invoices into my system, get the data off of them, and get the process started? Because by doing that, that's going to alleviate a lot of these other pains. Standardize how I resend invoices, be able to conduct internal assessments. They want to integrate e-payable solutions. Only 36%, which I find interesting, are trying to centralize their AP process. And we are seeing that on a number of companies where they're going to get that more to a central area instead of being processed at remote offices or in field offices. Strive for those things that they're trying to gain. We're trying to improve the cost of our invoice. How much it costs us. And the number one cost within this for manual entry. Whenever we have a number of people who are doing manual entry, there's a cost involved. It's also prone because it's such redundant work, and those are things that cost down the road if things are miskeyed or misentered. So by moving to an automated solution, I can really reduce the cost of that data entry and refocus those people on doing business critical operations. So instead of just being data entry clerks, the ability to really work within accounts payable and work with the customers and with their vendors. I'm looking at ability. I'm sure if many of you have had this happen to you, you got invoices that have come into the wrong person and they're sitting on their desk. They've come in the wrong email box and they're sitting there, and you don't know who they are. So you don't really know what you have to pay necessarily at any given time, and so forecasting becomes very difficult. By instituting an electronic automated system, early awareness. So by capturing these invoices as they come in, no matter in what format and to whom they come to, if you have a standardized process that has to be quickly entered into the system, you have almost immediate visibility to what happened in your payable stream. And by doing that, that will greatly improve your ability to forecast and your cash management. Do I have control of this? Am I doing things the same way? Do I have paper moving around my building? How this into a more standardized process? And by doing the electronic version of our electronic automation, I'm going to create a very prepared approval process. I've got the ability to move these things electronically from person to person if they need that kind of approval. I know that once it enters my building in any form or fashion, whether it's paper, email, fax, whatever it might be, I captured it and it's in the process, and I'm not worried about losing it along the way. So the things that a lot of people are talking about, a lot of the issues that those payable operations are facing. And so, the costs and risks of automations, there are costs and there are risks to it, but I think a lot of people believe it's an high price to do this type of automation. But what about today is providing a solution that can optimize a lot of these things, use your current infrastructure. So instead of saying we're going to come in and replace everything you do to help you be better at AP processing, what we're really going to talk about is just a tool that will be able to bolt on to whatever you're using today and greatly improve the data capture part of that process, which should be able to save you an enormous amount of money and time by eliminating a lot of the data entry. Okay. Today's world, you have a manual process. It works probably something like this. Documents come in. If they come into a branch office, you may be faxing them onto the home office. You may be mailing them onto the home office. Maybe trying to scan them out there and email them into the home office. And there's a delay in that. By the time that they receive them at the branch, okay. Bear with me. I think Lydia says that we've lost my video. Let me try that back. Apologize for that. So again, we were just talking a bit about how you're processing invoices in a typical environment in the manual way. So they come into a office here. We've got to mail them, fax them, email them, and there's a delay of 2 to 5 days for that to happen. A lot of times invoices may come into the mail room. Sometimes these may come in to the person who purchased it, or sent the request in, or the requisition, or the person that the company was dealing with as you were purchasing. Comes into the finance department. So all this takes time. Documents need to be reviewed, need to be approved and coded. Then you got to get all input, and you've got to get it into your ERP or accounting system. So it's a fairly lengthy process. As you can see, there's a lot of disconnects where it's for delays or misplacement of documents. Way to capture, you can eliminate the cost here if you're doing any kind of mailing of documents into the main office or any of those types of things. You eliminate that cost. You increase the visibility because this information is now directly put into your system. You don't have hand paper passing. You don't have kind of ad hoc or as I want to do it approve processes. You have an automated process that's done the same way every time, so you can improve that. You end up with less staff involved, reduce time, which reduces cost. And so That's the great advantages of introducing some type of electronic data capture process. So an automated process, the sense of how that could work is that in today's world with the technology that we have, out here in your branch offices or in the field offices or people who are working from home or wherever they might be, as documents come to them, they have the ability to capture them and actually submit them directly into a system to start the process and get the data off of them. So when I take a picture with mobile phone of an invoice that I receive in the field and upload that and get the process started, or it comes into a branch office and I can web scan it or I can email it in, or through the other ways that I have captured documents, whether I'm scanning them on my scanner or a multifunction machine or it's coming to a mailbox address. I can all those documents at the moment that I have them and inject them into the process. So now I have visibility to the information that we've received, be able to get data from those documents in a format that we can use. So by doing that, I get immediate recognition, verification, and maybe some coding of GL accounts if I need to do it. If I have an approval process, I can pass it through there. But as you can see, I can greatly shorten the processing time, eliminate the number of people that have to touch it and have to work with the documents, and so we're going to give you lower costs long term, and again, better visibility, better planning, so strategically you can be better placed to run the business. So that's how an automated process might look. So what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about a solution that I have. I want to go through a very brief presentation about kind of how it works. And again, this is kind of typically something to look for in data automation or AP automation. These are some of the tools that are out there. This is a very good tool that we represent and work with. Should give you a great idea of how these systems work. So complete these next few slides, then Alan Toker, one of our systems engineers, will do a demo of the actual product, let you see how this would all work and what that looks like. So our ABBYY is a company that was founded in 1989. So you can see they're a global company, 2,000 employees. They've got thousands of installations, billions of pages captured every year. And the beauty of these guys is that they are only a software development house. It's really refreshing in today's world because a lot of the larger companies in the data capture space have been acquired or merged with other vendors, hardware vendors, and parts of large conglomerates now that they're a little harder to predict what direction they're going in and what they're going to be doing down the road. ABBYY is truly a software vendor. Everything that they do is based around OCR, ICR, linguistics, translation, things of nature. So everything that they do is based in document and data capture. And so it's a great company to be working with. Here are some of the customers that they have around the world. In the U.S., you might recognize is Pepsi. Okay. So what about ABBYY's FlexiCapture for Invoices. This is a solution that they have developed. In the past, there's solutions like this, and ABBYY had a solution that do invoices, but there's a lot of development work that needed to be done to handle the variety of invoices that a company might receive in. A vendor is slightly different than everybody else's. They've got the information in different places, and so you had to kind of create these templates almost to be able to do that. So ABBYY's done, they've been able to create algorithms that, or one template, if you will, that can capture the vast majority of invoices and the data from them. By doing that, they have provided us a solution that is easy to implement, easy to maintain, and at a cost point that is so much lower because there's not a lot of custom development that you need to do. FlexiCapture for Invoices it eliminates paper exchanging, that manual data entry. It can capture the invoices as they come into the organization. We have, if you use POs, to actually match the information from the invoice as we read the data from it. Matches what you had on your PO. We can process that automatically, and anyone having to look at it or touch it. And the thing about it is it works with your existing AP system, an approval workflow system. It works with it. It works with the ERP. So what we're doing is adding a tool that can help eliminate costs and time without making you change every other system that you have within your building. So to get a sense of how this system works, and this is just kind of a walk our way through it. You have some invoices that come into you today, either by EI or XML transfer files. You're already going directly into your ERP system. So, we're not talking about doing anything different with those. What we're talking about are the documents, the invoices that come into you, either in paper form or they come to you as a PDF. For the vast majority of our vendors email us their invoices. We grab the attachments off of the emails and process them. And you're doing much of that today. So it comes in, whether it's PDF or paper-based, it gets into the system immediately. So if it's already in a PDF, we actually can monitor email addresses. So if you have an invoices@mycompany.com email address, we can monitor that email address. Anything that comes into it, we grab the attachments, which are the invoices, and we enter them into the process and read data from them. So upload into a folder. So if you've got a folder that we monitor, if you want to drop invoices that come into you a different way that are already PDFs, we can do that as well. If you're paper-based, if you have P-scanner, we can get the documents from the images from that and start the process. If you have remote offices, we have scanning, so they would log in through the web. The scanner attached to their PC, they'd be able to scan it right into the system from the web. Their MFP there, they could scan it on their MFP and upload it through the web. And they also have mobile capture. So as I said, if they have their phone or iPad or whatever it might be that has camera capability, you have an application where you can scan the invoice from it and then upload it into the process. So, and the idea here is being able to grab these things as soon as you have them and getting the process started. So the document's captured. We're going to go through the process, which is going to do first intelligent data recognition. It's going to read all the data off of it. It's going to do automated checks that we've set up. It's going to do the patching if we've got that configured. Once that part is done, we're going to then move the ones that have anything that is questionable onto someone to be able to review it or correct it. In many cases, in this part of it here, if GL accounts need to be assigned, that can be done so the AP clerk could check, verify that the data that we captured was correct. They assign the GL account codes if needed, and then once that's completed, then those can be moved on through the workflow process where you're going to have it approved, or maybe directly on into your ERP or accounting system and scheduled for payment. So this is how the system looks, just general flow of how the documents and the information run through it. So why don't we just kind of break down the steps so you can see the different steps a little more closely. Multi-channel capture, so that means I can grab anything coming in to my system. I think it's really interesting, just 20% of the organizations actually print out electronic documents. I see this in some of the places we've been into. They see their invoices in as a PDF. First thing, they print the PDF, then they walk it through their paper process. Maybe it eventually gets rescanned, but it's amazing how many people do that. So in this solution, we're going to capture the document as it comes in. So if it's already electronic, we'll keep it that way. If it comes into your email, we'll grab it out of the email, or you can send it from through the web or through your phone. So once we've captured it and we start the extraction of the data, the thing we do is we go match it up to see if the vendor sent the invoice is a part of your vendor list. So in this, we're interacting with a vendor list database that you provide us, or you there on your site, and we check against it. So we're going to see, is this vendor in your list? If it is, that's great. We'll verify and send it forward. If not, we'll still read the data, but we'll flag it and say, hey, this doesn't match your current database, and there's some ways then that you can process that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We can go to your business unit. So if you have multiple business units that you keep their cost centers separately, we can tell by the ship to address or a contact that it's being shipped to or a phone number that's being referenced or a PO number that's being referenced, we can tell that information what cost center it should be billed against. And so we can capture some of that data as we're processing them as well. So system pre-configured, as we receive it, it has to capture these fields right out of the box. Find the invoice number, the invoice date, the business unit or the buyer who had purchased it. So if we're trying to assign it to a cost center, it tells me the address and the name of the supplier, date, purchase order information. We can extract line item data so that we can match that against your PO to make sure that line item by line item that it is correct. And then we can do all totals. Actually, can do currency checks. So if you do international business, we can make sure that it's being billed in the correct way, whether it's dollars or euros or whatever it might be. The information that we grab. So reading the information off, we'll get a chance to verify this data to make sure it is correct. One of the beauties of this system is the ability to go out and validate the information. So, for instance, if I receive an invoice in from the Happy Star Limited company in London, I'll check this PO number off of it and go out to my PO and say, do we have this as something that we've ordered? So I'll go do a lookup to make sure that this is a vendor. I can do a lookup to make sure that the PO number is a correct PO number in our system. So get to validate the data that we read off of the invoice against information that you already have in electronic format. Validation does a deal to ensure that we have accurate and correct data. This form here also gives me the ability to look at things that's questionable and correct it. So I see the image over here data that it's captured. If there's anything missing or anything I need to change, I can do that. So as you can tell here, if it's red, it means that there's a problem with it. If there's an error or a rule that is broken, it tells us this right here at the bottom. So simple way to verify the information that we've captured, make sure it all is correct. So we're looking for a field and we're not finding it, or we find the wrong place. The beauty of this system is that the operator themselves can actually train the system to look in the correct place the next time an invoice from this company comes in. And most of these solutions that are out in the market today, that part is going back to development. Someone would have to change the form or the template to this particular invoice. That's a very lengthy and costly process. What ABBYY will allow us to do is to actually let operator train that themselves, and the change they make, you allow them to make these changes, would actually correct the way that we read a particular invoice, and so the next time through it would be done the right way. So again, it's a very powerful tool that really no one else on the market offers today. So we talked that if the data comes through and we capture it all, we have a purchase order we can match up against. This is what we call PO matching. So I can go out to your system, look at PO information, come back and match it against what we captured from the invoice, and if that's all the same, we can then pass that invoice through for approval or for payment, so that someone on the verification end has to touch it. This is a great way to improve the process, to speed up the payments, and again, eliminate a lot of the touching of the documents once they've been captured initially. A little bit more about touchless processing. We input it, we recognize it. It's all correct against the PO. We can move over to the approval for posting. So again, another key feature of the product. So for us, this differentiators, the solution is a technology leader from ABBYY. They are really the leading technology company in the IDR and OCR reading in the world. It's a private product for them, meaning they have a number of developers who are devoted to this product and continuous improvement. And every release that comes out, they've added additional functionality. and continue to work on this because it is truly the future of the processing ABBYY wants to do. Because there are lots of invoices coming in, and no one is really doing this very well. ABBYY is way ahead of the curve in what they're able to do. Stick to your back end and existing infrastructure. So, means we don't have to come in and change everything that you're doing. This is just an add-on tool that works with the system that you already have, but can save you a lot of time and a lot of money. It works with the majority of invoices right out of the box. This saves you an enormous amount of cost in the deployment. Most of these systems, when they put them in, the development cost is usually double the software cost. With the ABBYY solution, the implementation costs are typically half the software cost. So that's a huge difference in the market and the ability to bring this to medium, small, and large companies. It doesn't really matter because we're able to develop it and deploy it in such an efficient manner. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation part of it. I'm going to pass this over to Alan Toker, and Alan is going to, well, I'm going to pass this over to Alan. Can you give this over to Alan?
Yeah. You got it.
So Alan's going to walk us through a typical demo of the product so you can see exactly how it works. Alan?
All right, can you hear me okay? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was muted or not, that's all. All right, what I've got here is one of the demo projects that from ABBYY, and this one has to do with just showing some basic validation here. So we've got here, and these already have databases attached to them. They're not dummied up. They're just like a production system would be set up. So I have here first, I have an invoice. You can see a fairly standard invoice layout. Without any work from me, the system found the biz unit information. It looked there, found the name, looked it up in the database, compared and just saying all the information here. And the same thing for the vendor. So here, and it found the SI windows, found it in the system, and is displaying the information. Then what we're doing, and this is the kind of the simplest layout. So the next thing we're doing here, it found the invoice number. Now I didn't tell it where to find it. Then it looked for the words invoice number, various variations, knows the rules are built in to help it find that information. So it's an invoice number, it found the date, it found the total, and by the way, you notice the total here is not on the first page. It's on what is this, page 3? Yeah, it's on the third page here. Again, I didn't do anything to set this up. This is just dropped in. Go to a different invoice, different layout, same idea. It's our company, it's our vendor. Here, invoice number. Now, notice invoice date is blank because on this particular one, there isn't a clear invoice date. I've got some dates here. I've got shipping dates. Their training could come in, for instance. If one of those is the actual invoice date, you could train the system to find those in the future, and we'll cover King shortly. So now I'm just going to leave that as it is. Again, we found a total here. Let's go to their invoice. Same idea. It found our information. So it was nothing really I had to do. These could be verified, or they could be passed right through if you're confident in the quality of it. Here's we can see the overall thing here. Here's another one where everything looks fine. Now we have one that didn't pass. And here it's got a status of rejected, and it's telling us the reason was that the field value is not a currency. So a couple things. First of all, it will identify an invoice number here. If you look at this one, it's not clear what the invoice number is. Now, in this case, I could say, oh, it's this value, so all I have to do is click on it, and it fills in. Then down here, and it's like, all right, what happened? Okay, it picked up the word buy as part of the date. So all I have to do is cut, and now this invoice is ready to go. Well, the other thing is that on this one, it didn't pick up the vendor, so it would come here, and because it's all blank, so I would come here, and I would just say, oh, well, the vendor is products, and all I have to do is surround that, fills it in, address. Whoops, I didn't grab it there. It's Run Lake. That we get state. We get zip. Again, if this was an ongoing thing, I would need it to be able to find this in the future. In this case, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to say add record. It's picked up the information that I found off the form, and it's going to add it to my local data set. That's not add it to my master database. That is deliberately by design. So as an operator, it allows me to this is a valid invoice, allows me to go forward and process it, and I would then also this information to someone. For instance, you can see it's an exception because I could send it to someone to verify and get this into the master database so it finds this vendor in the future. So the point is that I don't have to stop working, waiting for someone to update the database. I can do this and continue on, and then the correct the database happens in the background. All right, now I'm going to switch over to another one that's set up to show the training. So what I have here is 4 invoices, and you see that 3 of them are ready for verification, and the last one has not been verified. That's deliberately. Because if I verified that one, it would also fail. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open the first one. Okay, it was rejected because the total is required, and it didn't find the total. So I total field. I look at the document and say, okay, total is down here. Click that. Oops. Total. Click on the field, and now I have a button over here, the upper right, that says Train. So I click on that and save some information. All right, and then I move my next document. You can see this first one here went to export because it satisfied the problem. This one, same thing. So I look here and I say, okay, nope. You have to train 3 times. That's deliberately. Building rules on what does this look like, how do I find it. So I do second, then I third, and click on train. And then you'll see this lasts a little longer because it's actually now building the rules that explain how to find the totals for this document. So now, when I'm to my last one here, and I tell it, now what I'm doing now would be equivalent to a new document coming in. This is a demo set, so it's all here. So I have to recognize. So now through the process, it's recognizing it. And right to export, because this is my total, because I trained it with the others. So from now on, any invoice coming in like this from gas and electric transmission would be satisfied, and it would be it has been trained at operator intervention. So that's how the training works. And then I use this for accounts field. It could be any of the fields. The thing is that you're training it how to deal with whatever problem it ran into. And doesn't run into that problem again. Okay, now, switching over here. What here is some examples of showing the PO matching. So in the first one, here's all the information we had before: our business unit, our vendor, our invoice information. This is one which it find a date. One that's not a problem. It's not required. It's total. And now down here we've got a new section. We've got information on the purchase orders. So this information here is as pulled from the database, and here's all line items. In this case, there's only one line item. So we have a couple of things here. First of all, I have a button here called Details, and this is just a lookup. I could look and see what PO or POs are associated with this order. So I can say there's only one. That's just a visual. I come down here to my actual line. First thing I have is in red is how it highlights a character that it's not sure that it's read correctly. So it's a Q. So yeah, that's fine. I just enter to satisfy that field, and then come over here because this wasn't able to completely identify it. So I click on this little button there, and now it's pointing. It would show me all the line items associated with that. I select this one. That you can see there was an error at the bottom, really just a warning saying this hadn't been matched. Now it's checked and says it's valid, and this invoice is finished. Got one. Okay, so we go on to another one here, and it's very similar. Case I've got multiple items. It found some things, others it didn't. It missed a position here. Some of the characters it isn't sure about how to read. So I have to look at that and say, yep, that is a 1-2. That is it didn't read correctly because it's actually L1 and it kind of read an I. So we put in L1. Correct. The quantity is 1. So filling in the things that the system tried but couldn't. You measure price. Coming along here and correcting these values or verifying them. All right. And then the same thing here, I can check those against the system, say, yep, this is the, I'm going to move my note over. Let's make this a little there, say, yep, that is the item. That's that item. I also, if I know that it's correct and I don't need to look at it, I can just check the box and here, yes, it's valid. So I'm through that process or not through it, either way. And same thing, and you see these go into export. Here's another one, similar idea. You can see it's a different layout. It's found the information. I've got a layout of data, and it's a multi-level form, or more forms. You can see my total is on the next to the last page with this other stuff in between. Those are most likely front backs of a page, I'm guessing. The same process. I just do go through, and if it hasn't, I fill in whatever information it hasn't picked up by itself. Another one, same type of thing. You can see it's a different layout, and the system has found it. You can also go here and just click on Auto Checked, and now you notice that the error at the bottom is the message at the bottom is corrected because I checked the whole thing. I don't need to go check each individual item. And I can save that. And they're still rejected because I didn't correct all the issues there. So if I had corrected all of these, just go here. It would go through that. So that, pretty much in a nutshell, is the way the system looks. You can see that basically what I was doing is verification, because everything else is automatic. There's the get document system, that's all happening in the background. All I'm doing as a verifier is dealing with things that need to be checked. And I could have the system set to only show me the things that have problems, or I can have set to show me some threshold. You can see there's various percentages here. Tell me I can adjust my settings to decide what I want to see and what I don't want to see. And Olivia, that's all as far as the demo goes.
I was able to get a sense of how it works. The idea is that the data read, we present it if needed to a verifier. And again, a lot of what Alan was doing there was not actually correcting data. It was really just verifying that what it thought it read was in fact what it should have read. So we can post tolerances, as Alan said, or lower, but typically anything that it has a question about, you just want to take a look at and make sure that we've got it right. So at this point, we'll open up for questions. I know we think we have had one come in. Aaliyah, go ahead with that.
Okay. We get a question here from Jeff. The question says, can I take information from Invoices and feed the information to more than one system for full forecast and approvals, or do I have to process them separately?
Yeah, so the beauty of the product is once we've captured all the data in the images, we can put them in a variety of ways all at the same time. So what typically happens is we take the image of the invoice in 2 or 3 key fields, and a lot of times we'll output that in a format that can be loaded into your document imaging, your document imaging storage system. And then all the data in a format that your ERP or your accounting system can then pull, integrate, and drop it into that database. So the beauty is we can put the data out in a multitude of ways at the same time, so you're not limited in any way.
Since we have through chat, we can open up the lines here, and if anybody wants to just go ahead and the question, we're going to unmute right now.
Yeah, everyone's unmuted. Do we have any other questions?
No. You might want to have a little course, but or try to get more.
I think we've got some background noise, but if questions, again, we appreciate everyone's time today. One of the things that we can offer, because of the way the product works, if you have an interest, we actually can take your invoices or some of your invoices and through our system into a custom demo of how it works. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised how with little tweaking or adjustments or things of that nature, the data can be read off of those invoices. So salespeople will be happy to work with you. Just let us know, and we'll be happy to do that. So appreciate your time today, being on the webinar, and hope you have a great afternoon. Thank you.